Hello and welcome to another edition of Long Beach Treasures. I'm your host, Harvey Keller. Today we're at the Long Beach Museum of Art and my guest today is Hal Nelson. Welcome, Hal.
Thank you very much and welcome to you, Harvey. I'm really delighted you're here.
Thank you for sharing your new facilities with us. It looks beautiful.
Well, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Now, I know this home was built in the turn of the century, and I think it was for $40,000. Who was it built for, and what happened in between times from when it was first built until the museum took over?
Great, you're right. It was built in 1912 as a residence for a woman named Elizabeth Milbank Anderson. She was a New Yorker who had relatives out here in Southern California that lived in Pasadena. And she came out to visit them, came down to Long Beach, fell in love with this location, and built herself a vacation home here in 1912. She worked with a company named the Milwaukee Building Company, a small architectural firm that specialized in craftsman-style buildings. Elizabeth Milbank Anderson had this as her vacation residence from 1912 until 1921 when she passed away. And then between 21 and 25, the building changed hands a number of times. And in 1925, it was purchased by a consortium of Long Beach businessmen that turned it into the Club California Casa Real, which was the first beach and social club here in Long Beach. And it must have been a wonderful, wonderful club at the time. When we go inside, you'll see a beautiful mahogany paneling that was added at that time when it became a social club and a beach club. So from 26 to 29, it was a beach club. And in 29, it closed primarily because of the crash in the market and because a new club opened here in downtown Long Beach, the Pacific Coast Club, which was the new kid on the block, the new club in town. A lot of people changed their memberships there, and this club went bankrupt. In that same year, this property was purchased by Tom O'Donnell, an individual oil investor who turned it into his home. And there was an article in the Press-Telegram in 1929 that said that the only changes Mr. O'Donnell is making to the property are the addition of bricks to the exterior of the house and the construction of a brick wall surrounding the property. So we know from that article in the Press-Telegram that the change as the addition of brick happened exactly at that time. The O'Donnell family lived here through the 1930s, and they owned the property until 1950. However, during the war years, they leased the property to the federal government, and it was used as a chief petty officers club during the war years. And then in 1950, the city purchased the property, turned it into a municipal art gallery, and then in 1957, they changed the name to the Long Beach Museum of Art. So the museum, the house, the facility has had a really interesting history and multiple uses over the years. And I think in a really interesting way, the history of the use of this facility reflects the history of Long Beach as it evolved from a resort community to a center of military operations. And now, just as the city has emerged to become a major international economic force, the museum is growing and emerging to become a cultural player within an international, global cultural community.
If I'm not mistaken, the Milwaukee Building Company turned into Meyer and Holler, and they're the ones who did the Grauman's Chinese and the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood. And here in Long Beach, it was the Ocean Center Building, the Walker Building, and the Old Fox West Coast Theater, which was where the Westin is now.
You're exactly right, Harvey. You know your history very well. And there are a couple of other houses that they did in Southern California at the time that they built this house. There's a beautiful, beautiful residence in Santa Monica Canyon on Adelaide Street that I had the great pleasure of touring a couple of years ago. It was early on again in their career, and the building is much like this building, the same beautiful craftsman style as well.
Do you know if there was much damage to this building during the 1933 earthquake?
Well, you know, we do have photographs that were taken immediately after the 1933 earthquake, and they were given to us by the son of the caretaker who lived on the property in the 1930s. And the photographs indicate, we're showing them in the lower level galleries in the new museum. The photographs indicate that the only significant damage to the main house, the 1912 house, was something that happened in many houses, the chimney collapse. The brick chimney collapse was unreinforced, and you see it in the photograph at the base of the house. However, we know that the whole wall on the west side of the property, so on the 19th Street, 19th Place side, completely collapsed. So the earthquake was strongly felt here, but this wonderful old solidly constructed wood frame structure must have just kind of creaked and rattled back and forth and remain intact happily.
I know during your renovation and restoration you uncovered many treasures inside the building. Can we go in and look at some of them?
We absolutely can.
Let's go.
Okay, great.
Hal, if memory serves me correct, the last time I was in here, this was a gallery with white walls with fewer doors and fewer windows.
That's exactly right. This is the space that we use to show our exhibitions, our paintings and sculpture in the museum's collection and our changing exhibitions. So it was all white walls, all of these beautiful windows and doors. The mahogany paneling was all concealed by the white walls that had been added, we think, in 1950, when the city acquired the property and turned it into a gallery space. So one of the great adventures and the most wonderful, marvelous part of our whole project has been what I kind of think of as being an excavation, where we have removed some of the surface level, some of the walls, taken them down to reveal the beautiful structure, architectural fabric below. And one of the greatest revelations in doing that was the appearance of this beautiful mahogany paneling. This mahogany paneling, as I was mentioning earlier, does not date to the original 1912 date of the house. It was added when the house became a beach club in 1926. There was another article in the Press-Telegram at the time that said that all the original 17 rooms of the Anderson house are being opened up and turned into grand salons and very elegantly appointed interior spaces. So at that time, this beautiful mahogany paneling was added. In fact, where we're standing right now, in the earliest photograph that we have of the museum from 1921, this wasn't even in an interior room. In 1921, this area was an open-air sun porch. Oh. And there was, on the other side of this floor, was another porch as well, sort of symmetrically placed. As you can see here now, we've taken down the walls to reveal the beautiful mahogany paneling, and this half of the Elizabeth Milbank Anderson house is becoming our museum store, our gift shop. And there are all sorts of wonderful, wonderful items reflecting the history of the museum, the collection, and wonderful collectible items here.
I know this room had to be added later because I see over there a beautiful fireplace and it has Batchelder tiles in it, and he didn't do tiles until what, 20s and 30s, I guess.
That's exactly right, yes. So that would have been put in most likely in the year that the chimney was added, when the brick was added. So most likely that would have been done in 1929. So your date is quite accurate. And it does have inside there a beautiful tile by Batchelder of the Battle of St. George and the Dragon in the fireplace.
Doesn't look like it's ever been used.
It doesn't. It doesn't. There were gas jets that were used over the years, but I'm sure originally they would have used that for log fires.
Great gift shop, so light, airy, roomy.
Thank you very much.
I think there's another fireplace in here. Was this uncovered also?
There is another fireplace in there, and yes, this was uncovered. And not only was it uncovered, but it was uncovered with the logs that you see there intact inside.
They've been in the fireplace all these years?
They'd been in there since at least 1950, so we know that that is well-seasoned, either birch logs or aspen logs there.
Shall we try it?
Nope, we could. We'd light a fire now. But beautiful travertines surround to the fireplace. Most of the mahogany paneling was pretty much intact in the state that you see it now, except in this area. And in here, we're not sure exactly when, but the mahogany that you see here was painted with layer and layer and layer of an avocado color paint. So we had to spend a lot of time and a lot of effort very carefully removing those layers of paint on the mahogany to reveal the beautiful paneling.
That must have been a job and a half.
It was. These guys who worked on it used what looked like little wire toothbrushes And after doing some modest work with chemicals to remove the paint, and they did a fantastic job of it, and of refinishing the mahogany.
And this must be the cafeteria, the lunch area?
This whole space here that overlooks the wonderful Claire Falkenstein fountain and the ocean beyond is our cafe restaurant. And the cafe restaurant will be open from 7:30 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon every day of the week except Monday. So it'll be a wonderful place for people to gather, for the community to come, start their day, have lunch, have tea in the afternoon within this beautiful historic setting.
Too bad it's not open later so you could have a glass of wine and watch the sunset over the ocean.
We may do that. We'll definitely have receptions here, and we're talking about having sake and sushi tastings in the evening and wine tastings, so we'll definitely be open occasionally in the evening.
That was another question I had. You will rent the space out for private parties, for fundraisers and things of that type?
Both this space, the exterior gardens, and we have a couple of spaces in the new building that are just glorious event spaces. One that's on the second floor, it's called the California Ocean View Gallery. It has magnificent views of the ocean surrounded by California plein air painting. That's an event space, and we've developed a full catering kitchen to support events that we have in any of these spaces, or that anyone who's renting or using these spaces can avail themselves of.
Can we go outside and look at the carriage house?
Absolutely. Let's go over there.
All right.
Okay.
What we're doing is doubling the bandwidth of our system, giving us twice the capacity we have now. It allows us to add new products such as digital, high-speed data, pictures crystal clear, and get CD quality sound. New products down the road could be interactive services as well. Picture-in-picture, where in one corner you could have your internet page up as well as watching TV at the same time.
Hal, this is a beautiful statue behind us. I think it's called Structure and Flow.
It is indeed.
Give us some information on it.
Well, it was designed by an artist named Claire Falkenstein, who just passed away 2 years ago at the age of 90. Wonderful, wonderful artist who's known internationally, California-based artist. She designed it originally for a man named Dr. Lewis Hine to be placed in the garden of his residence in Beverly Hills. He was a psychiatrist, had his practice here in Long Beach, and when he retired, he moved from Southern California, and he gave it to the museum, to the city and to the museum in 1972-73. And the fountain was dismantled and moved from his home down here to Long Beach and placed in the corner of our property.
He must have had a big backyard.
He must have. There was a pool back there, and this was just on one side of it, and I've seen photographs. It must have been a really glorious residence.
It's beautiful.
Thank you very much. We're really delighted now, as you may remember, it used to be in the corner of the property, and really delighted to have brought it out and put it in so focal a spot in the center of our, right behind the main house. And that's been made possible by EarthTech, who has generously supported the reinstallation of the fountain.
Diane Creel?
Diane Creel has been very supportive of the museum.
Good. I've seen that before, but I didn't really notice it. It was used to be in the corner in that
You're
well.
right. It used to be tucked away back there and hardly visible, and we're really delighted now that it's a center, a focal center in the museum. We'll have tables and chairs and umbrellas around there so that people who want to can come outside and have their lunch or their morning coffee outside around the fountain and listen to the splash of the water as they begin their day or as they end their day.
Okay, we're going to go into the carriage house, and I see a sign here, Earl B. and Lorraine H. Miller Foundation, the Education Center.
That's right. We've named our education center after the Miller Foundation. They have provided a very generous grant that's enabled us to do the move of the carriage house from its original location to this location diagonally opposite on the property, and they've allowed us to do all of the wonderful restoration that we'll see inside.
Let's go on in.
Okay.
Okay, here we are in the carriage house. This looks like it was the original bathroom.
It is. You remember I told you earlier that in the 1920s this was a beach club. Well, this was a bathroom and changing room. There were, right here behind us, there used to be a bathtub, and on either side there were showers. that were used by the people when they came back up from the beach after swimming. They would come in here, take their showers, change their clothes, and then go into the main house for lunch or for dinner or for casual relaxation.
And this will be your education center where you'll have programs for young children?
That's exactly right.
Will you also partner with Long Beach Unified School District?
We will indeed. We, in our inaugural year, we will be bringing through about 25,000 school children, every fifth grader in the Long Beach School District, every kindergarten child, and every first grader in the Long Beach Unified School District. And we have a very active and exciting program where kids come on a tour of the museum. We bring programs out to the schools first. Kids then come on a tour of the museum, and then they come over here to the Miller Education Center for an art-making experience where they can exercise their own creativity. One of the reasons we wanted to show the tile changing room here is so that we can use this as a means of telling the story of this building to children who are working in this space. So when they see the tiles here, they'll be curious about why they're there, and we can tell them a little bit about Long Beach history and the history of this facility.
Not only the fifth grade and kindergarten, but open to kids of all ages.
We do. We have lots of family art making workshops on the weekends. We have programs for adults also, lifelong learning opportunities for adults and for children and students of all ages. So we're deeply committed to educational programming here.
Sounds great. I'm glad to see that the arts are being interwoven into our school curriculum to give the young children something to look forward to and something to take pride in.
Well, thanks, Harvey. As you may know, through a series of cutbacks, art, both music and the visual arts, are simply not taught in the schools these days because of the lack of funding. So we have privately raised the funds necessary through the Miller Foundation and other sources. Toyota has provided a large grant also that helps to support our education and outreach programs. So we're really thrilled to be able to do this in partnership with the Unified School District and provide a creative enrichment experience and learning experience that wouldn't be available to children otherwise.
Could we go over and look at your new museum now?
Absolutely. You will enjoy it.
Let's go.
Okay.
Hal, this new museum is absolutely beautiful. It's spectacular.
Thank you.
You know, one of the things I think I admire most about it is that it sort of blends in with the old craftsman-style look of the house. Was this intentional?
Very much so, Harvey. The architect that we worked with was a man named Frederick Fisher and Partners, and he really specializes in working with historic structures, adapting them for arts purposes, and creating compatibilities between existing structures and new structures. And I think he's done this in many, many interesting ways, both inside and outside the building. For example, maybe the most obvious way is in this new building, he has used the wood shingles on the second level and the brick on the first level to create a compatibility to the 1912 building. He's also used beautiful copper detailing and the downspouts and the rain gutters, and the door overhangs are clad in copper, and then the beautiful outrigger beams that extend out beyond the body of the building are also encased in copper on the ends of them. And then there's a wonderful little detail that he did on the exterior of the building that I just love that really indicates that he was looking thoughtfully at the unique characteristics of our 1912 building. And that is, when you look carefully at the building's surface in the early building, you see that there's a horizontal line across the surface of the building that was created by the architects in 1912 using a double layer of shingles that created these horizontal lines. And Fred Fisher did the same thing in our new building. So if you look carefully, you'll see that subtle detail where you get this very beautiful long horizontal line across the surface of the building. Inside, as you can see here in the atrium, while it's a very contemporary space with white walls and kind of a very modernist vocabulary, very spare architecture, he has also used this beautiful mahogany for the reception desk here, and he's clad the columns, the vertical support elements, within the building in mahogany as well. And this, I think, is kind of a tribute or a tipping of the hat to the beautiful interior of the original 1912 building that is, as you observed, is fully clad in mahogany paneling as well. So I really love the way he's combined traditional and contemporary in a really interesting and kind of a thought-provoking way.
And it blends so well together.
Thank you very much. We also wanted to have, in that we're a public facility that's surrounded by a wall, we wanted to have something that would counter the feeling of this being a private domain. We really wanted to have something that would say, the community is welcome here. This is a museum that belongs to the entire community. So Fred designed for us something that he calls a lantern facade, which is this glass atrium. And if I know you walk your dog by here on a regular basis.
Every day.
And in the morning and at night, this whole place is illuminated, and it looks like a beautiful beacon or a lantern glowing in the darkness. And we really want to communicate that sense of welcome.
I noticed behind me there's an exhibit. Would you give us a little
Absolutely. Let's walk
explanation
over there and I'll tell you a little bit about
Looks
it.
like the couch I have at home.
Does it? Oh, you're very lucky then if you have one of these at home. One of the things that we're doing here at the museum that's a little bit different from what we've done in the past, and that a little bit different from what most museums do, is rather than just putting paintings and works on paper up on the walls of our galleries, we're really trying to show paintings and two-dimensional works within the larger context of furniture, the decorative arts, design, and crafts. And I think you see that as a very good example of that right here in the Masterson Atrium, where we have, these are all recent gifts to the museum, works that have come to us as gifts from generous community members within the recent past. On the wall here you see a beautiful print, a lithograph in aquatint by the world-renowned 20th century Spanish artist Juan Miró, called the Maja Negra. And it is placed above a beautiful sofa that was designed by George Nelson for Knoll International in the mid-1950s. It's called, of all things, the marshmallow sofa because it looks like marshmallows. Orange marshmallows nonetheless, but
Have
marshmallows.
you ever sat on it?
I have actually.
Is it comfortable?
It's not real comfortable. No, it's not. But
Not as soft as marshmallows?
not as soft as marshmallows, unfortunately. It also looks like, a number of people have commented, looks like a lot of stools in diners or in bar stools all lined up together there. But I think the designer was a wonderful, wonderful, renowned designer, and one of the premier American designers in the 1950s and 60s. And this is just a classic example of his beautiful design. Next to it, there were some very prominent California designers that I'm quite certain you know of, Charles and Ray Eames, the husband and wife design team. And this is a beautiful little stool that was designed by the Eames specifically for the Time Life building in New York. And it's called the Time Life stool. And then we've placed all of that next to this beautiful piece of ceramics, monumental piece of ceramics by an artist named Joel Edwards. So the reason for doing this is to kind of make the visual arts a bit more accessible to the general public and to show kind of the rich interrelationships between various art forms, whether it was design, whether it was crafts, whether it was fine art painting, works on paper in any particular moment in time. And you'll see that as we wander through the museum, you'll see that done consistently throughout the museum. Let's go upstairs. I particularly want to show you a collection of American furniture that was recently given to us by Victor Gale and Thomas Oxford. It's a magnificent collection, and I think your viewers would very much enjoy looking at it, and then we hope eventually coming to see it here at the museum.
Then let's take a look.
All right. What you see here in this room is all a gift to the museum from two very, very generous individuals who live here in Long Beach, Victor Gale and Thomas Oxford. They have a collection of about 350 examples of American decorative arts, painting, furniture, silver, needlework, from roughly 1670 to about 1810 or so. and they have just recently committed their entire collection as a gift to the museum when they pass. It's a bequest. And in this exhibition, which opens our building, it's just one of the most special galleries, I think, within the museum, and we've included some of the most significant works from their collection, including this beautiful Boston desk here. Sometimes they're called secretaries, sometimes they're called desks and bookcases, solid mahogany, beautiful, beautiful piece, majestic proportions. This dates to about 1765, a really early, magnificent piece, done most likely in Boston. The exhibition features works from the slightly earlier Queen Anne period all the way on through to the so-called Chippendale period. So it covers a range of time from about 1730 to about 1780 or thereabouts. We've also included in this presentation 2 loans from the National Portrait Gallery of the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, a John Singleton Copley portrait done in 1782, and a Matthew Pratt self-portrait done in 1763. So we think this is going to give people interested in history, people interested in furniture, and people interested in art and the decorative arts a really richly rewarding, beautiful space in which to celebrate American culture and to look at some of the most unique works made in American history.
What a generous bequest that they've made to the museum.
So we're so proud of this collection. We think it's a magnificent gift to the community.
What a great way to be remembered.
It is indeed.
Well, let's take one last look out on the balcony. How about it?
Wonderful. Okay, let's go out.
Hal, you couldn't have picked a better name than A Room with a View. Every view from every room is absolutely spectacular.
Thank you very much, Harvey. Inside and out, we hope.
Indeed it is. I noticed behind us down here, the green lawn area, you used to have concerts, I believe, on Wednesday nights. Are you going to continue the tradition?
We will indeed. This year happens to be the museum's 50th anniversary. And because we weren't able to do the concert series this summer because of our construction, in the month of October, on every Wednesday evening during the month of October, we'll be doing concerts on the lawn of the museum. We'll be inviting back some of the groups that have been very popular in past years, as well as having some new groups here. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to enjoy music, watching the sun go down, enjoying a beautiful evening of relaxation out here on the lawn of the museum.
When you have events at night like that, will the cafe be open so that people can buy lunch? Or?
The cafe will be open for people to purchase food. Some people bring picnic suppers, a whole variety. There will be wine and beer sales here, soft drinks sold as well. The museum store will be open as well.
No martinis?
Probably not martinis, no. But it should be a spectacular evening throughout the month of October, celebrating our anniversary, and they're lined up as birthday party celebrations almost.
This is just absolutely breathtaking. I just can't believe what a great job you've done in restoring, renovating, and creating here at the new museum.
Thank you so much. I should probably tell your viewers also that the museum is open every day of the week from Tuesday till Sunday, from 11 in the morning until 7 in the evening. And the cafe is open even earlier. It's open from 7:30 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. So we really want to be a place that people come to, enjoy, come here frequently. We really want to be considered the community's living room. And we hope that all of your viewers will come, enjoy the beauty of the architectural preservation, as well as the beauty of the art within our new building.
Hal, I want to thank you so much for being so generous with your time and giving us a preview of this beautiful, beautiful facility.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's been my pleasure.
And I'll be back many times.
Great. I look forward to seeing you.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us today here at the museum. This is Harvey Keller, host of Long Beach Treasures. So tune in next month when we take another walk through history and discover more treasures of Long Beach.